Okay. I'm going to show you ways you can be resourceful to do like lino printing and block printing. But for the lino, we're going to be using styrofoam, which is like polystyrene sheets. And then for the blocks, we're using like reusable cardboard, polystyrene. So polystyrene sheets you might find in, like if you get like a box of like a delivery, you might find it in there. And sometimes you might have bubble wrap. These are all the things that you can use to create your prints. For myself, I made with my work that I've had like repeated patterns, I've done it on the polystyrene sheets where I've drawn on the blocks. And then for the block printing, I've just created shapes. And I'll show you some examples. So this one's like the lino printing with the polystyrene sheets. And then with the blocks, I'll do something like this. Quite cool is that sometimes I don't want you guys to worry too much about what you're going to draw, because I think it's probably best for time just to draw shapes, and then once you're comfortable, then you can play about with it at home. So yeah, so can you hear me still?
Yep, we can hear you, Karen.
So for my materials, I've got block printing ink. I've got quite a few. I've got 3 different colors. You might have 2 or you might have more. I'll say probably use 2, and always mix them on fabric or printing on fabric. I want something that's gonna last. You're gonna need rollers, and you're gonna need a tray. If you don't have a tray, you can always use a plate, or you can use a plate with cling film inside it. I've got fabric, which is calico. Some of you, if you don't have fabric, you can just use paper, or I know some of you got like tote bags and stuff to it's a nice way. I also have water just to keep clean, and I might want to clean my rollers, and I have a cloth and some tissue. Well, it's not a cloth. Sorry. I have a cloth and some tissue. Are we good?
I think we're good. Let's just do one quick recap, Kate, on all the materials. So we've got a roller, polystyrene squares, paper, pencil, inks. Hopefully everyone's got that in front of them.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
And always material list as well. So I think for our first activity, we're going to do some drawing. I don't want you guys to think too much about what it is you're going to draw. I think the fun thing to do now is just to draw shapes. And like I created a sheet already where I've done shapes, and I think maybe just for like 5 minutes, draw down as many shapes as you can, and I'll do it with you as well. But I want you to draw down as many shapes as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just about mark making. And eventually we're going to use some of these shapes to create a pattern. And these shapes is just to help you kind of like get ready and get charged and to kind of figure out what you want to print. Okay. So I'm going to give you five minutes and then check back in. And I'll do it with you as well.
Perfect. So Kay is asking us, everyone, to grab a pencil and a plain piece of paper, and we're just going to be drawing some shapes, whatever shapes you like. They can be abstract, they can be squares, triangles, circles, and what we're going to use is those shapes as the basis of our stamp designs. Thanks for that, Kay. So we'll take 5 minutes for that drawing on paper. Everyone feel very free, very loose with what you're doing. Okay, I'll give us about 5 minutes on the clock for us to do that.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, just ask, because obviously I can't hear. So yeah, just type it in and let me know. And I don't know if you saw the ones that I've done before, but it doesn't have to be like basic shapes. You can just play about. So yeah.
Great, so Kay's got some lovely 3D zigzags on her paper, and we're really looking forward to seeing what kind of shapes everyone comes up with today. So we're just going to have 5 minutes for everyone to get some shapes down on paper.
Does anyone have any questions?
We do have a question, Kay, that's come through from Wheatfield Unit. He says, Kay, how long have you been making these kinds of prints and what inspires you?
With the prints, I only really do it when I'm doing workshops. But in terms of when I do my prints, I like to paint them. I like to paint them, illustrate them, paint them, and then scan them in. So like, I don't know if you can see the stuff behind me, but I've turned like my paintings and illustrations into like digital prints and like print patterns. But I think what inspired me was university, which was a very long time ago, where I did textiles design and I did knitwear and printing. And a part of the course, well, most of the course was just teaching us to experiment. And when you experiment, you kind of like find out nice ways to do things. And I think what's encouraged me to do this workshop is the fact that it's so popular. Like every time I've done it, people want more. And even though I don't do it in my personal work, I like to share that skill because people can take it and like do whatever they want with it. And it's quite beautiful to see the things that people make from it as well. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Perfect, Kay. And we've had a question come through from Lisa who'd like to know, which university did you go to?
I went to Central St. Martin's, which is, it's like an art school, a fashion school and an art school. So I did fashion textiles.
Amazing. So hopefully that's given everyone lots of food for thought and some inspiration. We've got about 3 minutes left of our drawing, and we're really looking forward to seeing what everyone creates.
Now, with your drawings, I want you to think a bit further. Once you start coming to the, not to the end, but once you start creating your shapes, I want you to think about lines and making marks. So inside, say you have a circle, inside your circle, you might want to do polka dots, you might want to hetch it. And hetching is when like you create lines. Hold on. So that would be like hetching. Or you might want to, for example, say I have this shape pear, this squiggly line, you might want to do more lines inside of it. And then it will start to create a bit of textures, which is quite cool. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the whole point is to make marks.
Fab. So we're going to give everyone about 2 more minutes to start etching into their shapes. You might want to do polka dots, as Kay said. You might want to do some lines. We've got 2 minutes left to draw on our shapes.
And you might even want to make your shapes 3D, which is cool as well. And if I'm going too fast as well, just let me know. I'll slow down.
Fab. Just got confirmation from Lisa that the sound is much better now. So thanks everyone for remaining calm, and thank you everyone for sticking with us and for your patience. We really appreciate it.
We do. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got about 1 minute left to draw our shapes. Wheatfield Unit have just hopped in, Kay, to say that they really like the prints and artworks behind you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I have plenty more on my website, which you can check out.
Great. So I think that is about the time, about 5 minutes we've had to draw our shapes. Kay, would you like to move on to the next step of the workshop?
Now, with the shapes, I feel like you'd be charged by now. With the shapes, I want you to pick maybe 3 shapes out of it. And I want you to think about doing the shapes in various sizes and various forms. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but we're going to start creating patterns. But we're going to do this directly onto the styrofoam, which is this sheet right here. I think you would have some plain ones. And what I want you to do, we're going to think about composition, and this is how we're going to make a really cool tile. So with the first shape that comes to mind, or the first shape that you see that you really like, I want you to draw it in right in the center and in the edges. So it'll be in the corners here, so the top to bottom, and then one in the middle. So it should be 5 different shapes. And it doesn't have to be the same size, but I want you to think about just composition and where you're going to put it. So for me, I think I'm going to use, I might use a spiral that I've done. So I'm going to put them in different spaces.
And Kay, would you just be able to hold up again the tile that you have already drawn your design on, so that people can see roughly where the composition they need to be thinking about their shapes?
This one's already used, and the composition's a bit different on this, but because we're using shapes, I'm going to do it with you. But what you'll notice is that even with the prints behind me, when I'm making a pattern, I repeat it. And even if it's not quite accurate, it's nice when you have a nice composition and it's in good places. So for us, this is like as if a print was shifted, but for us, we're gonna draw our shape in the middle, and then we're gonna draw our shape on the edge and the corners. And then after we've got those 5 drawings of the one same shape, we're gonna move on to the next bit, and then you're gonna see how your print develops, if that makes sense. But I'm gonna do one with you with just shapes.
Great. So we're going to give that a couple more minutes, everyone. So as Kay said, we're going to take some inspiration from the shapes that we have drawn on paper, and we're going to translate those onto our polystyrene tiles.
Now, with the polystyrene tiles, they're quite sensitive, so I wouldn't, well, delicate, and I wouldn't want to dig too hard. I'm using a pen, which is quite nice because it's smooth and it's quite easier for me to see, but you can use a pencil as well. If you do use a pencil, try not to stab all the way through, because anything you draw, you might see it on, like, for example, this one, anything you draw, when you print it, it comes out in reverse. So for example, this print here, everything here is from my drawings and is only showing the lines. So if I've made a mistake, it's going to show through as well. But mistakes are cool. We're here to make mistakes too.
Perfect. So we'll give everyone a couple more minutes to get on with the tiles.
And even though we're just doing shapes now, like, you might have your own ideas that you want to play with after a while too. So I'm doing this right now because it's a lot easier for time and it helps kind of get your brain going. But when you've got time alone, you might want to tell your own stories and share your own narrative.
And what is so incredible about the work behind you, Kay, is that, you know, obviously a lot of your work is inspired by identity and Black joy. And can you tell us a bit more about your own heritage and how that comes into your work?
So well, my parents are Jamaican. I would say I'm Black British, and a lot of the things around me will influence me naturally. So I love music, I love jewelry, I love clothes, I love food, I love memories as well. And I find that even in terms of hairstyles and my upbringing, with my artwork, it allows me to preserve culture and it allows me to share that joy. And what's really cool is that when I'm creating something, even if it's personal, there might be someone that has a similar story to me. So yeah, don't know if I answered your question, but yeah. So like for that image there of the red frame, in the back I've got, you wouldn't be able to see it too closely because it's quite far, but I've got bottle caps for like drinks that a lot of us at home will have, or I've got dominoes, which like my granddad would play. I've got like gold earrings that my mum used to wear. I've got a guy with like a really cool flat top hairstyle, which is, again, it's our heritage in the way that we dress. And it doesn't have to be whether you're Jamaican. It could be you're Black and you're from America, or you're Black and you're from Nigeria. It depends. But yeah, I just like to share my upbringing and my stories with my work. And yeah, sometimes you don't have much to say verbally, but you can always express that in your artwork.
Amazing. Thanks so much for sharing that with us, Kay. And Lisa has left a lovely comment and food for thought for everyone, and says, mistakes are always happy accidents that embrace our creativity. We absolutely love that, Lisa, and that's what we live by in Digital Art School.
Love that. How are we going on with our shapes? It's my one so far.
Great. So that's a perfect example, Kay, of the composition that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Great. So hopefully everyone's coming along with similar looking shapes and similar style compositions. And we'll just give that maybe like another 2 minutes on the clock so that everyone can get up to speed.
Yeah, we're going to add quite a few more shapes, but I think this is a nice way for you guys to think about composition. And even if it doesn't even have to be a print, it could be a collage, it could be an illustration, but in the future it'll help you create patterns, which is quite cool. So yeah, food for thought.
Great, we'll give everyone another 30 seconds or so to get on with that composition.
Yeah, any more questions?
I imagine everyone's kind of getting on with their amazing compositions, Kay, and also a reminder that we can't wait to see them. We love when you share your artworks to our gallery.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Great. So Kay, would you like to show us the next stage of the block printing process?
Okay, so the next stage, I want you guys, we're going to draw some more shapes, but I want you guys to pick a whole different shape, and the gaps in between we're going to fill out. So it doesn't have to have too much detail. It can just be a simple shape. It could be square or circle. I want you guys to do a square around this, well, like a triangle, I guess. No, a diamond around this the middle print. So we're going to do one here, one here, one here, and it's going to fill out the gaps. And that's going to create a print. It can be quite quick. It doesn't have to be anything too complicated, but just something to fill out the space.
Okay, would you just be able to show us your stamp now and where it is in the process? Amazing. So we're almost finished.
Yeah. And I'm going to put another shape here.
And these shapes, Kay, these are all inspired by the ones that we drew on paper.
Yeah. So I was just doodling around. So it's nothing too serious. I was just playing around. They're not the best drawings. It's just about getting ideas out. So you can see. I think the cool thing about doing these is not so much about how well you can draw or how neat something is. It's about mark making. And I feel like sometimes the more mistakes you make, the better the print actually comes out. And there's always ways to clean up your print as well if you needed to. If you find that you're finished with your drawings, what I usually like to do is draw around the edges. We don't have to if you don't have time, but whilst we're waiting, if you do have time, those little corners, you might just want to throw in any of the negative spaces, you might want to throw in like random shapes or random patterns or dots or lines, but it just adds to the print.
Okay, just as a time check for you and for everyone, factoring in that we lost kind of 10 minutes or so at the beginning with our technical issues, I'm going to add 10 minutes on the end. So we've got about 25 minutes left of today's workshop.
Cool, thank you. So like in the negative spaces, I've just drawn some more shapes, which is going to make my print. And what's really cool is that I find that if you do this in your own time and you decide to play about with illustrations, if you were to write something or you draw something, anything you print basically prints in reverse. So if you had like writing that you wanted to do, it's good to use tracing paper, because when you use tracing paper, you can draw it on your paper and then do it on the tracing paper and then flip it, or you can draw it on the tracing paper and then flip it, and it will come out in the right direction. So that's something to think about.
So we'll have a couple more minutes for everyone to work on their polystyrene stamps.
And I know some of you have block prints as well, or printing blocks as well. Mine's obviously homemade, but I know some of you have some that you can use as well. So I'll keep that in mind for the next part.
And those stamps that Kay's talking about will be the leaf shape stamps that people have received in the material boxes. So we'll give everyone another minute or so just to finish off their stamp designs. Remember everyone, this is just a practice run. They don't have to be absolutely incredible or perfect. If you've never done this before, then you might want to work on a different design later.
The next part is fun because once you start, you're not going to want to stop. And I guarantee, even when the workshop's finished, you're going to keep printing because it's so therapeutic.
All right, Kay, I think this will be a good time to move on to the next step.
Cool. Any questions? We're good? So you should have, well, hopefully you have block printing ink. If you don't, you can use paint. But I would like you to basically, in your trays, hopefully you have more than one tray. If you don't, I would like you to put the inks at separate corners, separate ends. How I've put my ink in is at the end here, and I'm going to use the whole tray because I've got 3 different ones. And I highly recommend not to use the same roller on different paints unless you intentionally want to mix the colors. And I also suggest that if we want to put colors on top of the lighter color first, so if you decide to put a print on top, for example, I know you guys have your leaves, but if you use a lighter color at the bottom, this won't be, it will come out a bit more. Unless you had drying time, then you can use the darker color at the bottom, but we don't have drying time, so we're just gonna use the lighter color first.
So we've had a question come through from Naini, who asks, can you use cheap sponge rollers?
Yeah, why not? It depends. I feel like if you're using paint, you can use sponge rollers. I feel like if you're using block printing ink, it might be a bit more tricky because these rollers are quite hard, and it's gonna be easier to push the ink across. Whereas if it's foam, it's just gonna get stuck to it, and it might not be the best experience. So if you are using like a foam roller, then paint would probably be the best option, like water-based paints. Yeah. So hopefully, we're gonna now put ink on the on these sheets, but hopefully your table is clear and you don't have like an expensive table that you're using, or you've got newspaper on top, because ink does spread. So what I want you guys to do, I'm talking too fast, tell me. We're gonna let me see. We're gonna be using the rollers to just even out the ink. But what I don't want you guys to do is like get a block of ink and then just roll onto your sheet straight away, because basically when it's too clotted in the lines, the print won't show. So you might find that the first print that you do might either come out really like subtle, or it might be too much evenly across. And then we're gonna put that ink onto the sheet. And we're going to cover all of the sheet. Now, because of time, hopefully we're able to draw another polystyrene sheet to print. But if we don't, we can just use this one print, and then we can use our printing blocks on top of it. So yeah, if I'm talking too fast, just let me know as well.
And a really good tip that Kay gave us for finding polystyrene is actually the bases of pizzas, oven pizzas that you get from the supermarket.
So once they're rolled on, should it be like that? Now for this one, I'm just gonna, I would say, because it's the first one, if you have one tote bag, I don't want you guys to feel like you've ruined your tote bag or feel stressed about it. So for the first one, if you've got a scrap material or paper, I'd use, and when you feel more confident with your designs, then maybe go into fabric. But I would say what I like to do is do two different tiles. So I would have like one tile drawn and then another tile drawn, and then I would create a print where it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but you've got different colors on each side. But because we're doing one, we're just going to probably just go center of whatever you have, and then we're going to try and use the block prints on top. And like I said, if you use the lighter color first, that would be good. Let me know if I can move on to the next step.
So just as a quick recap for everyone, Kay has very evenly spread the block printing ink onto the tile, and she's about to test it on a piece of scrap fabric now. If you don't want to go directly onto your t-shirt or your tote bag or whatever you're working on, we'd suggest testing on a scrap piece of fabric or a piece of paper first. So Kay,
Yeah.
you ready? Please feel free to show us how to do it.
So once you've put the block down, because obviously it has ink on it, the ink will spread if you move it. So once you put it down, I want you guys to be quite careful, and we're going to place it down and we're going to rub over it. Or if you have an extra foam roller, you can use that as well. So once it's down, it's down. And then we're going to rub across it evenly. You can use your hand, you can rub it in, or sometimes I cheat and I just use a foam roller. Well, not a foam roller, but a roller. So I think that might be enough now. I just want to make sure that it goes in. Is everyone okay? We're good for time? Now, when I lift it up, I'm going to hold the fabric down and I'm just going to peel it. It might come out great or it might come out really bad, but we'll find out. So just gently lift it up. Once you lift it up, don't put it back down, okay? So it's like, oh, this is quite cool. So this is what it would have come out like. Let me see.
Yeah, can you just hold that for us there, Kay, so everyone can see it really clearly? Amazing. So hopefully everyone's peeling back their printing stamps now, printing blocks. And this is what Kay's design looks like. Amazing. Thank you, Kay.
Now for the next part, actually, no, I'll give you time. I'll give you time. I'm rushing.
It's a time check for you, Kay. We've got about 20 minutes left.
Okay. I think what's quite cool is that we've gone through the basis of this. Now, once you have this, you can play about and experiment. But yeah, just give it time.
And Kay, for the other kind of stamps that you've made as well on cardboard, can you just talk us through how you've made those?
Okay, so I've got hold on. Literally, I've done it with glue and I was using scissors, but if you can't use the scissors, just get someone else to cut it for you, or you might even find that you have shapes already. But I use glue, I use cardboard and polystyrene sheets. So you'll find this in like packaging or like delivery boxes, just things that you usually just throw away. And yeah, same way how like I drew some shapes, I've done the same thing with these and just cut them out. And what's cool is that because the polystyrene sheet is raised, when I print it, it's only going to print the block, which is really cool.
And Kay, what have you stuck the polystyrene down onto the cardboard with? Pritt stick.
Yeah.
Amazing. So that's super accessible. And Kay, we've had a question come through from Barbara, who'd like to know, where do you get the block printing ink from? And is that what it's called when you buy it? So is it called block printing ink?
Yeah, literally. So the block printing ink I think I bought it from Amazon, but you can get it in Hobbycraft, you can get it in CasArts, any art supply store, arts and crafts store, they'll have block printing ink. And if you go into Amazon, like loads of different options will come up. And also like the colors that I have, I've just mixed them myself. So sometimes you can get colors made, or you can buy just like a pack with like red, like primary colors and white, black and white, and then just mix them up. Yeah.
Great. And we've had a question come through as well, Kate, about washing the fabric after printing. So can you wash the fabric after you've printed?
Yeah. Me personally, I think what helps sealing the ink is if you heat set it. So if you have like a hairdryer, or if you safely use the iron. In the past, I put a paper on top. Once it was dried, I put a paper on top and ironed over the paper. Then it heat setted it and it kind of sealed the ink in. So it's like if you were to screen print, like a lot of people use the same inks anyway. So same way how you might have a screen printed t-shirt and put it in the wash, it's the same with this. And this is why it's quite sustainable and it will last. So yeah.
Brilliant. So that is using a paper and an iron on the reverse will set the ink, or a hairdryer.
So I would once it's dried, I wouldn't do it whilst it's wet. So once, for example, where the image is once it's dried on top, or just put a paper on top and then iron it. I wouldn't. And once you have that ink stuck to your iron, then it might ruin your clothes or whatever else you're going to iron. So I wouldn't recommend that. I would highly recommend just waiting for it to dry. And then heat setting it, and you find that when you heat set it with an iron, it gets quite smooth as well.
Amazing. Thanks for that, Kay. Great tips. So we've got about 10 minutes left, Kay, of the workshop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to you what you think that we can fit comfortably in 10 minutes to make sure everyone understands the block printing process.
I think got most of the block printing process covered, but I think we can do with our trial and we're going to use our printing blocks that we have. Once you establish this, then you can play with it. And the more tiles you have, the more colors you can play about. That's like, if we go into our printing blocks next, that would be the best. And you can experiment more as well. Is that okay?
Brilliant. Sounds great, Kay.
Yeah. Also, with these printing blocks that I made, obviously it's cheap material, so I might find that I'm printing and then the glue just undoes itself, and that's fine. You just have to be patient and kind of like peel it back and let it dry and then just glue it down again and you'll be fine. So we're going to go into the next bit. So if we pick a color of our choice, a completely different color, if it's darker than the color that we have on or brighter or more bold, that will be the best in block. If we're going to roll in the color on the next printing block. Does that make any sense? And whilst you're rolling your color on your printing block, I want you to think about different compositions that you might try. I know that when I print, I don't think I'm going to print directly onto this, but I think I'm going to print onto the edge. So, yeah.
So, Kay, you're using a different color, like a contrasting color for this one, is that right?
Yeah. So yeah, so I'm gonna use a lighter color. You can, but I always recommend waiting for the darker colors to dry properly. Otherwise, the color's gonna come through if it's wet. So that's why I like to do a darker color on top, because you won't notice it. And I highly recommend to use a different roller or clean your roller before using it, because you don't want to mix the colors unless that was intentional.
So on your materials list, everyone, you'll have a cloth and some water, and cleaning your equipment. That's what those are for today.
I think also if you're at home, warm water helps a lot as well. It gets cleaner quite quicker. That's okay. And that's why as well, like if you did have a lighter color and you couldn't wash it, maybe like try and roll off the roller on something else and then use a darker color and it will kind of hide it away. I'm cheating here, my thing's already split open, but I'm just gonna glue the cardboard instead and then stick it back down. Cool. Let me know when you're ready to print.
I think we're ready when you are, Kay.
Okay, so on your illustration, well, on your print, just pick a place where you want to put it. You might want to put it directly in the center of your image. You might want to put it on the edge. And if you were to repeat the pattern, your placements, you might want to put it in between, but I think I'm going to put it going across. So yeah, it's similar with the like the lino printing. Once you put it down, just rub it in and don't shift it around, otherwise the ink will spread. So once it's down, it's down. And depending how many block prints you have, you might want to add a different pattern as well on the other side. And you just lift it up gently whilst holding the fabric down. So, can we see?
Amazing. Love that, Kay. I love that you've chosen a kind of an off center position for your second
Yeah.
set.
And it's cool because can you imagine if like this was if there was towels and it was full, the color will go across between two different colors. So say I had like a blue towel here and a yellow towel here and then an orange bit of thunder going through, that would be quite nice. So yeah, there's a lot to play with.
Amazing. So we've got about 5 minutes left, Kay. So it's totally up to you how you'd like to spend it. We'll just give everyone a chance to kind of catch up to where you are. But maybe you've got some more examples of like previous designs that you've done that we can look at for inspiration, and you can talk us through those.
Also, does anyone have any questions?
Anyone that has a question, you can type that into the Q&A function or the chat box, and I will happily pass that on to Kay. And just a big thanks to everyone that's joined us live today and has bared with us through today's workshop. It's amazing to have you with us live.
Yeah, I really appreciate everyone's patience, because I was like, trying to get it to work. So even though we've done shapes, you might want to stick with doing shapes. I think that's quite nice because it allows you to be free, just learn new things and not worry too much. And the whole point of this is to enjoy the process as well. But if you decided that like you have an idea and you want to share it, or you have like a theme that you wanted to play with, you can do that. With me, I like to take like inspo from my other work. So what I did with mine, I created like prints with bubbles. Now, the composition, I tried to around, so instead of big repeated, so you can kind of get elements of my drawings. So you might have a picture that you want to use, but you might want to crop your picture and only use a certain part and repeat the pattern. And this is like what I was showing you before. Say, for example, you had your towels, like what our styrofoam towels like this. You can have two different colors. You can have a base color, and then you can have another color. And then with your block print, you might want to use the same color as one and add a lot you can play around with. Yeah, I don't know if you can see, but this one is just like hair bubbles. And if you look closely at the back, this one is just hair bubbles, and then the other one is a hair bubble on top and hairbands and hair clips in the background. And you play with colors. It's quite cool. You might want to draw faces, but then also I've got stuff actually from other students, which is quite cool. 1 second, hold on, I'll show you. Come back. Okay, so someone decided to just do spirals, which came out really nice. And I think over time they used the same roller, and they just got darker over time. So some of it is quite blended. So if you can see. So there's that one, and then someone else did this on a styrofoam. They just did lines, but it came out really cool. So you can just make patterns that can be a nice background to put your print on top of. Or you might change the composition completely and just layer your tiles on top of each other, starting with the lighter color first, and then do the outside. So I don't know if you can see closer, but it's like sports equipment.
And Kay, on that note about colour, we've had a question come through that says, if I print blue over yellow, will the intersection show as green?
It's possible. I think I've done it before. Hold on, there's one here. It might, a little bit. It depends. There's this one, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got blue in the background and yellow on top. But I think this had time to dry, but you can see like the shift in the colour. But I don't think it's going to be a bright green, but it might have like a bit of a gradient. It depends how much ink you've got on there as well, and how wet the ink is. But if you look closely, I don't think, it doesn't really show up green to me. Just a bit of a gradient.
So again, the beauty of this process is all about experimentation with marks and with colour and with layering. And you've shown us so many amazing examples, Kay. And we've had a lovely comment that's come through from Holly and everyone joining us from the Vales that says, thank you, Kay, so much for today's lovely workshop. My patients feel you have a lovely aura. What helps you to stay positive? That's their question.
How do I stay positive?
Yes.
I don't know, I have bad days too. I don't know if I stay completely positive, but I think I don't know, I think maybe I'm not a happy person, but I like fun, and I think I like solutions. So I can sit down and worry about things, or I can find a solution. And I think one thing, you don't get your time back, so I like to just value time. But I think bad days are just as normal as having good days. And that's what I think that's important to know as well. But yeah, I think maybe I'm just a fun person. I don't know. I don't know if I have the answer to that.
Good comment, Kay. It sounds like what you're saying is all about balance.
Yeah, but I think solutions are important. So you can worry, but when you worry, it just takes away at time. But if you have a solution, then you just figure it out. And I think that's the good thing about problem solving, is that you experiment and then you find new things. So say, for example, you make a mistake in your artwork, it could be like, oh no, the world's going to end. Or you can find a solution and then find something even more incredible, which might inspire you a new idea. So I think that's important to know as well.
Brilliant. So that's kind of really nicely taken us to about the end of today's workshop, Kay. For everyone that's joined us today, just thank you so much for bearing with us and for being here with us live. Kay, do you have any places that you'd like to kind of direct us to online where we can see more of your work or where we can follow you?
Yeah, so my website is kdavisartist.com, and my socials are all linked there. But if you type K Davis Artist on any social platform, you'll find me, or just in Google. Yeah. Or if you go to Hospital Rooms Instagram, then you'll find a link to me through there.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today, Kay, and for showing us so many amazing, inspiring, wonderful techniques with block printing. We've got some lovely comments coming through. Naini says, making things, being creative helps me to stay happy. That's fabulous to hear. Lisa says, fab, thank you for today's workshop. Christiane, who's joining us all the way from Brazil, says this is a wonderful workshop. Jessica, who's from the National Psychosis Unit, says thank you for sharing our workshop, for today's workshop as well. So thanks so much, Kay. Thanks everyone for joining us. So thanks to everyone that submitted a question or a comment. It's always so wonderful to have you all with us live on a Thursday. It's time now to launch our end of workshop poll. If you could please indicate on the screen how you found the workshop today with Kay. This will really help us to grow and improve the Digital Art School through 2022 and beyond. And of course, we take on board everyone's feedback today about all the technical issues. It's something that we're always trying to deliver and improve. So this poll should be appearing on your screen now. I'll just launch that for everyone. Fantastic. So for those of you that are still here with us, I'd really love to share with you the story of Hospital Rooms and how the workshop today has come about. So we are a London-based arts and mental health charity, and we transform inpatient NHS mental health units with extraordinary art. The Digital Art School is hugely important as it allows us to build a community where we can join together globally and feel part of something special. You can find the library of our past projects and all of the previous Digital Art School workshops. We've got about 70 plus workshops on our channel now, on our YouTube channel, and you'll find there a variety of original sessions with leading artists such as Kay. We also have a Digital Art School newsletter, which keeps you informed of the upcoming workshops we have, material lists that you'll need for them, along with any downloads that you might need for the sessions. You can sign up for that at hospital-rooms.com. Once again, we love it when you share your artworks with us, and you can upload those to our online gallery on our website. You can submit those using your name, or you can stay anonymous. If you've created some block prints today, either joining us live or watching this back on demand, we'd absolutely love to see them. So we'll be back next week, Thursday, for the very last workshop of this summer term. So that'll be landscape painting with Stephanie Nebier. Don't forget to register for that on our website. It's completely free and you'll find the materials there. From myself and everyone on the Hospital Rooms team, thank you all so much for joining us today and bearing with us through the technical difficulties we've had. Another big thank you to our brilliant artist, Kay Davis, and we look forward to seeing you all again next week. Thanks again, everyone.